Good evening, everyone. It's always good to be here and to see this smiling face, especially because of this topic today. We wanted to stay with the first word, joy, you know. But as in the universe, we have this duality about, if there is right, there is left, light and dark, white and black. So there is joy and sorrows. And the idea that we have today is basically an extension of this book that we have been studying every Thursday. So we are now studying the last part of the book that talk about consolation. And one of the topics that they discussed a lot is about joy and sorrows, okay? So I put the smiling face over there just to be more up to date. So nowadays, nobody write text to anyone. It's just little emoji. So I wish one day we just gonna speak to emoji, not no word, no word, no text. So when we talk about joy and sorrows, of course, nobody wanted to talk about sorrow, sadness, but it is important. It is important for us to address this topic because if we know how to manage our sadness, our sorrows, we will increase our joy. Okay? So the idea is to bring this subject under the light of Spiritism. Of course, there is many books out there that teach you how to achieve happiness, how to become successful. But the question is, where we want to go, where we want to achieve in our life. So why we wanted to be successful, why we wanted to have happiness, and how we achieve happiness. Is happiness relative? Is there a way that I can have a happy life all the time? So all this question is addressed in the Spirit's book, and of course we know beforehand that it's almost impossible to be happy all the time. It's impossible in the level that we are. So we're going to bring here some of those questions that we find in the Spirit's book and reflect upon this. And at the end, we're going to open for comment and question. And I hope we can leave today here a little bit happy or happier than we arrived here, okay? So I put those emoji and picture over there just to illustrate what we're going to discuss tonight. So, but if we go to the definition of joy and sorrow, so in the dictionaries, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. So I have a little, I went to the dictionary.com, and they define joy as a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. So it's a feeling, okay? It's a feeling that we have of pleasure and happiness, okay? We are not yet defining what it is happiness. It's just the feeling, okay? Because sometimes the feeling of happiness for one may not be the feeling of happiness for others. For example, in a game, at the end of a game, there is half of the fans that's going to be happy, and the other is not going to be happy. So when the opposite of joy would be sorrow, in this case, that is a feeling of deep distress caused by loss, disappointment, or other misfortune suffered by oneself or others. Okay, so this is clear, okay? I'm just bringing this because we wanted to be by the book. We don't want to come here and bring only our personal things. So we bring things that, in special definition, that is already accepted by the majority, okay? So now come to the Spiritism. So I'll give a little bit of background about this book, the Spirit's book, because it's always good to revisit. I've been brought this before in other talks that we have given. But the Spirit's book is the backbone of this philosophy, okay? So as the name say, backbone. If we don't have the backbone, the spinal cord, we cannot stand, you know. So everything started with the publication of the Spiritist book. For those that were here like about a month ago, we watched the movie and we see how everything starts. So I'm not going to go to the detail. But if we analyze how Kardec put this book together, and he was the editor-in-chief. He was that guy, the research that gathered all this information and put in a more, we would say, didactical or easy way for us to follow the idea. So this book is divided in 4 parts, okay? The part 1 talk about first cause. Before I go to the part, do you know how many questions the book has? Just throw 1,019 questions. So any question that you have in your mind right now, I will give you 1 second. Yeah, that question that you think is there. Really, it is there. Maybe the answer is not the answer that you're expecting to, but it's the answer that the United Spirit brought to us. So the first part talks about first cause, okay? Start with the question about what is God, not who is God. Because Kardec already understood in that time that God is not a person, is not, you know, a guy, an old guy sitting over there is waiting and judging people. So first cause, they talk about the elements of the universe, talks about how the universe was created, the nature of, not the nature, the attributes of God, and so on. This book, the first book, was further developed in the last book that we call the Genesis. So Kardec put a number of questions related to first cause, and later he developed those topics, those subjects in the Genesis. That is the last book of his codification. So the part 2 talks about the spiritual world or the world of spirit. Okay, so this second part is very important because it's in that part that he starts to talk about the intelligent principle of the universe, the spirit, the relationship that the spirit has, reincarnation, and how the spirits connect to the physical body. This interaction between these two planes, the physical one and the spiritual one, and was later developed in this second book here, the Medium's book. The Medium's book is a guideline for us to study, but also to practice this interaction that we wanted to have with those that has been passed away. So, in a common term we call is a guideline for mediumistic practice, okay? The third part talk about moral laws. The moral laws touch basically about the teachings that Jesus brought, okay? Although they don't talk about Jesus in the part 3, was later developed in the third book that we call the Gospel According to Spiritism. So here we have all the teachings from Jesus. Kardec decided not to go to the polemic issues that religion or people create about Jesus. He was not worried about if Jesus, you know, had brothers or sisters, if he was married or not, if he went to India, or if he stayed, you know, in the Middle East. So all these questions, you know, that we learn in other religion, Kardec didn't address this because Kardec says the most important things that we can take from Jesus is the teaching, the moral teachings, okay? So when we study the Gospel According to Spiritism, we learn about his approach to explain the parables, to explain the Beatitudes. That's beautiful. Sermon of the Mountain, you know, what should we do if we are in this situation or that situation. Lastly, but not least, part 4 of this book. The part 4 talk about hopes and consolation, okay? And this part is the part that we are studying here on Thursday. We have been advanced half of the part 4 of this book, question and answers, and talk about basically about our lives, you know. And that's why we decided to give the name of this topic. And the inspiration came, one of our study group here on Thursday, they said, wow, I think we should bring what we have been learning here every Thursday to the public that come only on Saturdays, you know, because I think it's charity to share what we learn. So this can make our life a little bit easier. Not solve completely our problem, but diminish, okay? Why diminish? Because we understand. When we understand why things happen in our life, our pain also decreases. It's not going to be eliminated completely, but we find ways to manage our suffering, okay? So this book, this part 4 was later developed in this 4th book, Heaven and Hell. Although the title of this book is a little bit scary because nobody wanted to, talk about heaven, but hell, you see, about hell. But it's so interesting because when people look at this book, in the way that it is heaven is capital letters, but we stuck with hell, And then we don't want to read this book, we don't want to study this book. But it's a fascinating book. If you read this book, you're going to have an idea what happened to us when we cross to the other side. Because this book has 2 parts. One part explains about the miracles of Jesus, but the second part talks about accounts of people that Kardec evoked during the medium's meeting, and they told what were their state on the other side. So we have account from a spirit that says that is very happy on the other side, a spirit that is not so happy, a spirit that is, well, didn't change much, and the spirit that is really suffering, that's in hell. They feel that they are in hell, okay? So, if you wanted to check this book, I advise because, just for us to prepare ourselves, whatever we go to the other side, at least I know which level I am because I read the book Heaven and Hell. And just a joke here. So we're going to concentrate in the part 4, okay? Joys and sorrows is discussed very deeply, and we question that we cannot even imagine in this part 4, okay? We're not going to go to all the questions. The part 4 of this book, I think, is one of the biggest book compared. So I didn't check what's the biggest one, but only in this part 4 we have about 1,000 questions. 1,000 questions and answers. Okay, I think 100 questions. Yeah. So yeah, it's about 98 or 100 questions. Yeah, 1,009 is the amount of question of the whole book. So I took some of the questions that I think is appropriate for our topic, for what we wanted to discuss. Of course, if you wanted to extend more, just go and read or come on Thursday and then study first. So you have all these options. So hope and consolation. Just to understand the part 4 of the book is from question 920 to 1,019. It's 99 questions. I said 100. It's 99 questions. So it's divided in 2 chapters. The chapter 1 talk about earthly joy and sorrows. And then they have all this topic that is discussed: relative happiness and unhappiness, the loss of loved one, disappointment, broken affections, so antipathetic union, fear of death, disgust with life, suicide in this case. So this is thing that is very common among us, okay? The part 2, the chapter 2, talk about future joy and sorrow. Future joy and sorrows, okay? And talk about nothingness, the future life, the intuition of future joy and sorrows, God's intervention in punishment and rewards, the nature of future joy and sorrows, temporary punishment. This is the next chapter we're going to study next week. Isn't it, Yask? So we just finished the nature of future joy and sorrows. We just finished last week. So now we're going to start temporary punishment. So we're going to discuss about, okay, what about this place that we call hell? Is this exist? So, and the Spirit's going to answer to us. If you wanted to know the answer, you need to come to the study group. I didn't put any question from this part here because I want you to be curious. Or you can read by yourself at home. Talk about also the duration of the future sorrows. Is punishment something that will last forever? The resurrection of the flesh. This is very important one, because especially like when we study about the life of Jesus, you know, about the resurrection. What is the mean resurrection? So it's possible that we die and come back to the same body. So there is a discussion about this. Heaven, and finalize, the book finalize with heaven, hell, and purgatory. So you should have time to join us. We still have a couple months to go before we finalize. But so by looking these two chapters inside of this book that is entitled Hope and Consolation, that is the last 99 question of the Spirit's book, we felt inspired to do a kind of a highlight of this topic, joy and sorrows, okay? So now that you understand how this book is put together, isn't it? This is the backbone, and the other 4 books is the extension of these 4 books that is in the first book. Look how clever Kardec was, you know? So the foundation is here, but that one is the main foundation. That's why when someone comes to the Spirit Center and they ask, okay, which book should I read? We have many books here. So my advice is that start with the first one, because the first one is going to give you an idea to you what is going on with us, with you, for example. So this is for us to understand where we can get some information about how to achieve happiness and how to mitigate our sorrows, okay? So in this first chapter, there is a question, so here, relative happiness and unhappiness. That is, I brought 2 questions in this, inside of this chapter. The first question Kardec asked, can human beings enjoy complete happiness while on earth? What do you think? 920. Can we enjoy complete happiness when we are here? Why not? What is that? God is good, He's love. Why we cannot? But we are not, isn't it? Yes. So let us see the question. Let's see the answer. The answer is like this. No, you're right. Because life has been given to them, to us, for example, as either a trial or an expiation. Or we can substitute this for atonement, okay? But it's depend on them, us, themselves, ourselves, to mitigate their misfortunes, and be as happy as possible while on earth. So there is a possibility that we can be happy, not depends on the happiness that we are looking for. So I highlight 2 words here, trial and expiation. So when we talk about trials, what comes to your mind? For example, let's bring this to the human laws. What is a trial? Judge dirty, you know, and it's a test. It's a test. Trial, this is a test. So trial here is not the same kind of trial that we see in our courthouse, that someone is going to, you know, prosecute, the other one is going to defend, and we have evidence here, and you need to prove, you know, to condemn someone. So here is a test, okay? Trial in the sense of we are here to be tested. Testing what? Like, for example, moral. But what? Yes. Moral, yeah. In everything that will help us to evolve, moral and spiritual. Also, we have the test also to advance in terms of knowledgement. Like, I mean, like, for people that are in school here, I mean, you have to, put some extra hours if you wanted to have a good grade. You don't stay only with the teaching in the classroom. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind. You need to put the extra hour. So be here in this planet is about that. We cannot come here and just think that we are on a vacation, We are here to put the extra mile. It's expected. And who determined this? Who told us, you need to go and through this test? Well, the Creator create laws. That is the divine laws. But what he did after he created the universe, he created intelligent beings, create us, and he calls us. We are the co-creator with the Creator. We are co-creator. We are not the creator. We are co-creator because we can create things. Okay, there is things that we cannot create yet. But with certain ability, we can create things that will and is putting in to help in our lives. Nowadays we are here with AC if it is too hot outside, or heater if it is too cold outside, with light, with devices that amplify the sound. So all this is creation from man, from us, through research. So what is the expiation in the answer that he gives over there? What is the expiation? We can say it's the sorrows, because we are going through the process that is not pleasant. We can name this suffering, sadness. Is going through a process that is very painful. But God is good and love. He's not giving to us the test that will make us fail completely. So everything that we have is because all the sorrows that we have is because we are able to manage. The question is, are you put extra hours to manage those tests and to minimize our pain? So this is a question that only us has the answer, okay? So then the other question, the question 922, is a long question. I just short the question, say, is there nevertheless a common standard of happiness for all? In another word, so it's possible to have a normal situation that we feel happy? And the answer is very interesting, because they say like this, the Spirit. For material existence, it is the possession of all that is necessary. For the moral life, it is a good conscience and the faith in the future. Read the question again. For the material existence, they are not condemning all material thing is bad. No. Is the possession of all that is necessary. What is the problem here in this answer? What is the problem? Is that we are not satisfied with the necessary. From the moment we think that, okay, I already have a car, but I need to have the most expensive car, then we are setting ourselves for sorrows. Because we are putting the bar so high, that we are never satisfied. So, but if we wanted to achieve this happiness that the planet offers to us, so we need to be able to live well and feel joy with the possession of things that is necessary. Regards to our moral life, is a good conscience and the faith in the future. When they say it's a good conscience, means what? It's our relationship. How good, how bad we treat one another. Because it is true that when the communication is not clear, it's going to generate what? Noise. It's going to generate affliction. It's going to generate sadness, angry. okay? So relationship. And then if you don't have the virtues, so things become more difficult because then we don't understand the other person and our conscience become to pile up with feelings, things that make us feel guilt. And then we get sick. And then the second part, faith in the future. What does this mean, faith in the future? That's beautiful because we can analyze this as the same line of thought. Whatever I do today, there is a consequence not only tomorrow, next year, but next life. With this mind, I will think 10 times before I make a decision. Is this going to harm myself? Is going to harm my family, the society? What is the consequence of this? The faith in the future, once we analyze, once we accept that life is immortal, we have one life only. One life from the moment we are created until we become angelical beings. It's just one life. But this one life is divided in many experiences in the body and outside of the body. In the body and outside of the body. In the body and outside the body. How do you call this? Reincarnation. So we are a collective of experience that we have been living in and out of the body. The moment that we are in the other side, and then when we live here. So this changed the whole thing that we have been learning in school, for example, or even in a church, because we just think about, okay, we die, we go to heaven, go to hell, and that's it. So how we explain all the difference that we have in our plan? How do we explain here, in this room with, 15, 20 people, why we are so different? Why we have so certain ability and other doesn't have? Why I was born this way and the other was born that way? Why I have this disease that, challenged me in this life and my neighbor doesn't have? So why can we explain this without take in consideration the process that we have this divine law that we call reincarnation? Because if the cause is not here, might be somewhere in the past, if not this life, could be in the other life. We're going to talk a little bit about this in the next couple of slides. So I put this draw here because I think this is basically our life. We are happy sometime and then sad, happiness, and so on. So we don't have a completely happiness. We have this relative happiness, and all the time we are unhappy, okay? So the other thing that comes to our mind is this notion that we are punished, okay? God must have been punished me. Why I was born this way? Or I don't have this ability. Why? You know? So where the superior spirit can at least help us to understand that this notion of punishment could not be the right word, because probably we don't have a way to express ourselves, so we use punishment, you know. And there is a notion that God is there punishing us and make us suffering. So it doesn't match with the attribute that God has, because we learn that God is love, God is always good. That is who created the opposite of goodness. So one of the answers in this chapter, the question 111, I didn't put the whole answer, the whole question, because I want you to go and study that. But I extract the highlight of the answer. The answer for this says, punishment and joys are inherent to the degree of the spirit purification. Each spirit carries within itself the source of its own happiness or unhappiness. So one thing that we can rationalize here is this: the degree of the spirit's purification. What this means? What means is that if we're going to go to a school that has elementary, middle, and high school, we're going to have what? Different level of student with different level of understanding and knowledge. Okay? Take this as our planet as if it is one of those classrooms. Okay? So the universe and the knowledge that permeate the universe is much more than what we see here. But the level that we are here is the level that we need to go in order to move to the next grade. So in terms of planet, so the Spirit says that we live in a planet right now that is a planet of trial and expiation. What this means, Daniel? That everybody that is incarnate here is going to a trial? Yes. That is going to a torment? Yes. Oh, but, those people that live in Hollywood that has, a lot of money, well, they are the one that is suffering the most. Because if you see what the kind of life they have, it's not easy. I don't want to have that kind of life. They have a lot of material thing, money, but their freedom is very limited. And if you see the account that comes from a society that is very rich, is that the level of the number of suicide and depression is much more than people that live in a poverty area. So this is not me. This is statistics. This is research showing that. So it's already proved that material thing is not the source of happiness. It's the contrary. Can be the source of, a lot of hell, So be careful when you ask to have a lot of material gain, because I think we are not in the level yet to manage those things in a way that is not going to bring suffering to us. Okay? Some people know how to manage. We are not saying that everybody that has money is going. No, there is people that is living very well and manage their resource very well and help a lot of people. Yes, the balance, yes. So, but then the question is, okay, Daniel, what is the cause of our afflictions? What is the cause? This is something that God creates, and we need to go through this. Is there another way that we can come here, reincarnate, and have a life that don't have too much suffering? So have you asked the question, why animals get sick if they don't have choice? They don't make choice, if they don't have free will. Why animal has I mean, sometimes we see like people that has pets here, dog or cat. Some of the situation you need to put them to sleep because they have a disease that is very painful. Why is that? If they don't make choice in the terms of free will. Have you think about it? Okay. So the reason that this happens in nature is to boost the evolution of that spirit or spiritual principle that is living that body. So when that spiritual principle one day become a spirit, like us, they have to worry about other things. But the body, the disease of the body, is purifying that spirit in a way that's going to boost the evolution of the spirit to become a spirit one day. So now the question is, why our physical body gets sick? Because they are like cleaning our spiritual, so one day we can become angels. There is no other way. That's the process of evolution. Now, some of our disease, and when I talk about disease here, I talk about physical and moral, okay? Because there is people that has the body perfect, but the mind is trouble, okay? So, in the level of the spirit, we receive two attributes, okay? That in the animal kingdom is still dormant, okay? One is the capacity to reason. So reason is acquired when the spirit become individualized, the human level. And the other one is free will. What animal has is instinct, Okay, the animal is hungry, they go and seek something to eat. It's time to procreate, there is that time. So everything is based on instinct. So in the top of this, when we are in the human level, we receive two attributes. The reason that we enable us to evolve by ourselves, by creating environments that will be the best that we can to live well, and free will would make us to make decision, right or wrong. And that decision that we make will impact in our life. So if the decision that I make right now affect only my physical body, and I die with something that's not related to that situation, that decision that I'm going to bring example. Alcohol, smoking, eating too much, things that will cause the disease of our body, majority of the time in this lifetime may not affect us. Okay? So my grandfather, for example, he's already in the other side, he lives 96 years old. And he was a drunk since he was 14. And he died with a disease that was not related to alcohol. His liver probably was good because he never complained. So here's the question that we ask. According to the divine laws, the next body that this spirit, that was my grandfather, will form, what do you think, what kind of weakness and organ in the next body that he is going to have to repair? Because maybe in the physical body was not damaged, but the spiritual body has already the mark over there. So when the spirit imprints in the new body, then they might activate cells or organ that now we're going to pay the price. So by doing the disease in the next body, he's going to clean the spiritual body. So we should be careful, I'm not saying everything's the balance, guys. We are not here preaching that don't do this, become like so upset. No, it's the balance, okay? So we are not saying here, please don't go and drink. Please don't go and do this. No, it's not that. Because there is people over there that don't drink, Hitler, for example, he was vegetarian. So everything is the balance. But you see, his mind was troubled. So what you care the most, the mind or the body? Well, you need to care with both of them. So it's simple as that. So in Spiritism is so like open mind that doesn't prohibit anything. As a Spiritist, you can do whatever you want, but bring this knowledge that whatever you do, there is consequences. There is consequences, So, and when we talk about this, it's for everything, from what we eat, from what we talk, what we do, act, will bring consequence. But here's something for us not become, so much shaking and worry. So everything rely on the intention. So if we are doing things very well intentioned, that thing is going to harm you and you're still doing, then there is a problem over there. But sometimes we do things without even our intention is the good intention, But then at the end, we know that probably is not the best thing to do it. So the intention is very important on this, okay? It's very important. So when we talk about the causes of affliction, in this book here, the Gospel, chapter 5 is the biggest chapter in the book. Why the chapter 5 is the bigger chapter in the book? Because the title of that chapter, chapter 5, is about blessed the afflicted. So it's a lot of stuff to explain to us because the suffering that we go is so much. And it's so interesting because I was reading this chapter and the book is organized in a way that Kardec brings a passage from the Bible. He gives an explanation about that passage, and then we have a Spiritist teaching, what means that was a spirit from the other side that came and gave communication on that topic. Everything follows our order, okay? So in this chapter, we have 13 Spiritist communication, not Spiritist, Spirit communication, which means there is a lot of spirit in the other side, very careful, and want us to succeed, want us to really do well. So we have 13 messages that in other chapter we don't have those kind of messages. So, I mean, it's another chapter that is worthy to read. So, in item 4 of this chapter 5, Kardec's mentioned, the vicissitudes of life have two different sources that are important to differentiate, okay? Some have their cause in the present life, others outside of it. And I put over there, in the prior lives. Lives, because of many lives, okay? In fact, I said that we have one life, but we have many experiences in the physical body. In another word, other lives in the body, okay? So he also said, because he talked about the cause, okay? On search for the source of earthly misfortunes, it will be realized that many are the natural consequence of the character and the behavior of those who bear them. Explain. So our sorrows come from us. It's not God. It's from us. You know, it's from us. Financial situation. Well, maybe you spend more than you needed. Maybe. Disease of the body. Well, maybe we push too much in that area, Daniel, but I didn't do anything in this lifetime that you make, I have a problem in my liver. I don't drink. I don't do anything. I'm health. What is the problem? Here, outside of the present life, which means something in the previous life. Daniel, should I go and consult a medium to know? No, please don't do that. That's why there is a chapter that is called, inside of this, there is an item that's called Forgetfulness of the Past. I don't want to know what I did in past life. I swear, I don't want to. You know? You don't want to know. You don't. So here is an example. You are in college. Now, let me go back. High school. There is people in high school here. Okay, I'm going to do in high school, okay? So, high school. For some reason, you did something that really put you shameful. Do you want to go back and remember that thing? You wanted to erase that from your mind, isn't it? You don't want to remember that because you feel so ashamed. And nowadays, it's dangerous because people videotape you or record and put in YouTube, and then it's there forever. You know, so that's why people that, you know. So this is for us to think. And sometimes people say, I want to know what I was in the past life. And in this item that is in the chapter 5, Kardec very wisely put this forgetfulness of the past. Because it's a Pandora box. You don't want to know what is inside. You want to have an idea? Just observe your thought in this life and your action in this life. That is a reflection of the past. You know, if you feel yourself that you have a lot of responsibility, but you are just dragging, you know, then you can say, probably in past life I was those kind of people that has many maids and employee. In this life, I don't have many employees in my house. I need to clean their house. So if you look at your house getting dirty and close your house once in a month, so maybe you can picture that in past life you have a very easy life, that you have people that was cleaning your house the whole life. And I don't need to tell what kind of people was in that time that was cleaning your house. And now you don't have those people anymore because we progress. Now you have to clean your house. And I'm sorry, but I've been in some house, not here in Brazil, I'm not going to mention here, that I get in and wanted to get out immediately because the dirty is too much. And for that person, it's fine. Where did this come from? Where did this come from? What kind of life this person has had? So then you see the opposite. You go to people's house that are so clean. The people has nothing much, but it's so organized. So then we can see that that spirit already come from many reincarnations that know how to clean their stuff. So we can apply this reason to everything in our life, to relationship, to professional life. How can we explain people that has the ability to play an instrument since they are a little boy, very well? So where does this come from? So we can at least, this spirit maybe had many reincarnations that he or she was exposed to music. That's why in this reincarnation, they are very easy to pick. They listen and they know what to note, for the sport, for business, So on this way to rationalize, so we can see what we come from. Now, apply this to the sorrows, or to our sorrows. So why we go into this situation? Even in our family, why I have that kind of brother or sister or parent? Where does this come from? Okay? So relationship. So all the relationship that was spoiled in previous life, according to what we learn, we're going to come together again to solve the situation. Maybe sometimes change the roles in the family. That there was the brother, maybe now is the husband, and vice versa. And that way we're going to shaping our relationship, and we become better spirits, better individuals. Okay? So when he mentioned character and behavior is our actions. Okay? So that dictate, the causes of our affliction. And then one of the messages that was brought by Lacordaire in Havre. Do you know this place, in France? The place, Havre? Have you? It's a city. Yeah, okay. It's a beautiful place. I Google to see it's close to the sea. Yes, yeah. We have a place here in Maryland called Havre de Grace. That one of those generals during the independence when he looked at that place, he said, "This reminds me in a city in France called Harvard," and then he called Havre de Grace. It's a place that Christian that we like to go there at least once in a year, because it's beautiful. Because remember that place over there. So the Spirit says, "Blessed are the afflicted." This is Lacordaire. So he was explaining about the beatitude, why Jesus said, "Blessed the afflicted, blessed the poor of spirit," and blah, 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 the 7, 8 beatitudes in the gospel. So, and he is analyzed what Jesus meant, okay? And he said, "Blessed are the afflicted," maybe translate Thursday. Is this correct? Yes. Blessed are those who have the opportunity to test their faith, firmness, perseverance, and submission to God's will. For they will receive 100 times the joy they lacked on earth, and after labor will come repose. Repose. Yeah. So when we hear this, "Blessed are the afflicted," and this Spirit translate here is like, look, just analyze your life with faith that everything shall pass. Just don't mess up again, Don't mess up again. So when we feel that feeling that you're going to be rebellious, or sometimes rebellion is not only speak up. It's not, there is people that is very quiet, that don't say anything, but is the most rebellious that we can even imagine. Because you don't see what's going in their thought. So they might not speak up, but their action is slowly be completely the opposite of the mainstream. And then so we need to reflect upon what we call rebelliousness, because there is different kind of rebellions, okay? Someone might go and really speak up that, go against the law. Okay, this traffic light is red, I'm gonna go anyway because I'm the one, I'm the biggest. So it's rebellious, it's childish to do this. And we can apply this for everything as well. So to finalize, I want to bring the last two questions. And one of the questions is when Kardec was asking a series of questions related to, okay, to the progress of our society is become more nowadays because we have everything in the tip of our hand. So this brings to us more affliction than in the past, especially like, oh, in my time, we didn't have this problem. Life was slow, was quiet. Now life is like very fast. People use cell phone all the time. So Kardec was asking questions like this, okay? And this question, 926, he says, isn't civilization the source of new afflictions? So let's picture our society nowadays, especially when we analyze our teenagers, our children. So we parents, sometimes we tend to say, oh, you know, I don't know how can they cope, like, you know, they are on the cell phone, watching TV, studying, listening music. I can't. I'm from a generation that I cannot do that. It's very hard for us to understand that, okay? So when Kardec was posed the question related to this, is this bring affliction to these new spirits? And they say, the misfortunes of this world result from the artificial needs that you create for yourself. Artificial. Those who knows how to limit their desire and see without greed what lies beyond their means spare themselves many disappointment in this life. The wealthiest are really those who have few needs. Okay? So here is the highlight. Artificial. What we consider artificial. Go to the same way. What it is superfluous. Go to the same way of the reflection that we did earlier. So is that, you know, I mean, I already have a house that has 3 bedrooms. We are just 3 people, so why I'm going to buy a house that has 6 bedrooms? Maybe you can justify, look, I'm going to have my family comes by once in a year, you know. So I need a house that has 6 bedrooms, okay? 3-5 garage. Hey, if you have a house with 6 bedrooms, please forgive me. This is not for you, okay? This is not for you. But it's just like you need to ask the question, do I need to have this? Because I'm going to tell you, I have the feeling, you have the feeling. When I was shopping for house, I was like, I'm going to buy this house. There is a swimming pool. You know, there is like a front. I mean, I can do the SSB event here, the fundraiser. I was justified. Wait a minute. That's something that you needed? Or you're just justified to, and then you end up with a huge mortgage, and then you create a problem where there is no problem. So one of the questions in the Spirit's book is that the majority of our problems is created in this life. We don't bring from previous life, okay? It's in this life. Because problems that we have done in previous life, sometimes the God's math or his bank in terms of money is like we take a loan, okay? So the interest that God charges us is very small. So even if we have a big loan or debt in previous life, doesn't mean that in this life we have to pay full. So it's just a tiny bit. So if our life become really a problem, is because we are adding more debt in this life. Okay, so this is the rationale that we learn. So he continued. Will the kingdom of goodness, this is the last question of the book. I'm already telling the last question of the book, of the Spirit's book. The last question is, will the kingdom of goodness ever be realized on earth? This is 1019. This is 1019. This last question of the book. What do you think? Yes or no? Yes? Dun, 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 dun. Time of the truth. Goodness will reign on earth when? Condition. Among the spirits who come to inhabit it, the good outnumber the evil ones. They will then make love and justice, the source of goodness and happiness, reign on earth. It is through moral progress and the practice of God's and of the laws of God, that humans will attract good spirit that to the earth and repel the ones. However, the evil ones will only live after humans have banished pride and selfish from this planet. Selfishness. Okay, so we should like print this and have in our car, refrigerate door and place. So here is the question. In which side we wanna be? Are we wanna be? The one that's gonna stay here, when the planet will be goodness, rain on goodness. So we see how much work we have ahead, isn't it? When we look nowadays the situation of our planet, when we look at the situation of our country, the political arena, and all the corruption in other places, I mean, wow. Because in the name of the right thing, people is doing bad thing, okay? So we are doing this for the good of few, but they forget that we are all brothers and sisters, all brothers and sisters. So the answer, yes, one day. When it's gonna be that, I don't know. Definitely it's not gonna be in our lifetime. We are already like, let's be, you can take picture if you have a cell phone. So if you wanted to have, you can turn off the light over there. Turn the light over there so you can see better how it's gonna be. So much better. You can take pictures. So also you can read the book. But I think this is something that brings some consolation to us and hope, because we know that maybe we will not experience this right now, but we will come back, because reincarnation exists for this. So what we are doing right now is to prepare a planet that probably 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now, we can come back and find a better society. As 2,000 years ago, maybe we are there. And now we are here enjoying this talk and revisiting the teaching by Jesus, not be prosecuting in the coliseums. No lions here. There is no lions over there. There is no code. The place that the disciples used to meet to discuss tavern. What is the place? How do you call the place that is? There is a name that they used to call. So we are here already profiting the evolution that we have going through, moral and intellectual. Intellectual, we can already, nobody came here by using animals, isn't it? Everybody drove, isn't it? So in the past, you have a horse, or you have other kind of transportation, the camels, yeah. So, but we are still struggling with our moral evolution. So we still have a lot of prejudice. We are still have a lot of segregation. Probably we don't express this, but inside of us, we still have those those feelings. So I think it's time for us to do a reflection and to do the best that we can. Because Jesus, God, all the enlightened spirit, they are here to help us. It's up to us if we wanted to speed up or if we just wanted to go a little slow. So, but the end of the day is that we all gonna be in a good place, I hope. So to finalize, I like to bring this. Oh, I have the wrong. I like to bring this quote by Chico. And he said, though, so for us can feel more this consolation, though nobody can go back and make a new beginning, because we don't go back in time, anyone can start over and make a new ending. So it's today. So whatever happened in your life, last year, 10 years ago, a spoiled relationship, someone that you hurt or you were hurt by someone, just, if you need to forgive, forgive. If you need to ask for forgiveness, and start everything brand new today. Take that situation as a learning opportunity, and let's move on, because the message that has been presented to us, not only today with the Spiritists, but from 2,000 years ago, is a very positive and enlightened message. We are the one that has been delayed, okay? I'll think about this later. Our pride and our selfishness has been the source of all the sorrows that we have been living. We say we because everybody from here, there, from there to here. So there is no one that is escaped. And I like one prayer, and this prayer is a common prayer. It's called the prayer of serenity. I think you heard about this. This is a prayer that in the AA group, they always say this prayer also in Spirit Center in Brazil, everywhere. Do you know the history of that prayer? No. That was a prayer that was said so many times by a pastor here in the U.S. in the 30s and 40s. His name was Reynolds, is a German name, I think. So he was a priest, I think, in Massachusetts. And so the end of his sermon, so he used to say those words that later became a prayer. I think I can bring it here to you guys. Yeah, just let me see here. I thought I have Serenity, Serenity prayer. So, let me see. I think it's this one. Yes, it's this prayer here. Okay. So the prayer says, sorry about that. The prayer said, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay? So I think when we feel ourselves in the situation of, sadness and sorrow, I think this prayer is very appropriate in any circumstance. God grant the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. There is situations that we cannot change. So we ask for strength and the courage to change the things that I can. There is things that we can change. Sometimes we are in a job that we feel so miserable. I mean, you have the choice to leave the job. You can change that. But sometimes you feel so comfortable that you really don't want to make that effort. So you ask for the courage. Give him the courage to go and say, hey, goodbye, and find another place. But do this with the next sentence, wisdom. Okay? Because don't just do without think about how you're going to solve the problem. Because then you create a problem in an area that you don't have. For example, you don't have money now to pay the bills. Now you have a problem. And you don't have a job because you didn't have the wisdom to make the transition. But ask for the courage. I think this is something that if we're going to go home today and we don't know how we're going to, minimize, okay, our sorrow, I think remember this quote by Chico that you always can start today. And also the serenity prayer that is something that will help us to make a decision. I will stop here. If you have any question, comment, we are here. If not, we're going to move to our passes. But I think I have a microphone here. And if you can just put the light back. Question, comment. Yes, comment here.
That was very good to remind us. I was thinking about in the other way when we have some struggles, what we call vicissitudes, which are the struggles, the challenges, that instead actually blaming God, actually we have to be thankful. Because those limitations, the struggles, are really the mercy of God towards us. trying to restrain us to make the same mistake again. You know, we have many examples from, we can say some disease like a diabetes. Why I have a diabetes? Or how many lifetime I had diabetes. And I make mistakes, I had my legs out, gangrene, all these things. Well, this time you get that in order to you to be watchful. I cannot have all this sugar. I may make a cake for the others to enjoy. Can you believe this? You're able to give away things that you most want to have it? Mm-hmm. How much of wisdom you have on this? So if you have a liver problem, why I have that? Because they know that once I'm cured, the first chance I'll go to the bar and I'm gonna drink. So they will give that little
limitations,
that limitation. And suicide, people that commit suicide so many incarnations. Sometimes they come with complete motor, without movement in the legs. They cannot, they stay in the bed. Because if they could go, they would jump again. So we have to be really, if we understand the infinite love of God, to be really grateful for all our limitation and reflect upon that.
It's a very well said.
And also
yes.
about the affliction, the way I try to understand that funny sentence, blessed are the afflicted, because I'm studying for my talk. Mm-hmm. If you don't have affliction, you won't move. You will stay in the same pace, doing the same life. Once you get some affliction, you get uneasy, you have to move at least your body in the position, and if it's a moral affliction, you will try to diminish that affliction by change our habit, by asking for forgiveness or whatever. Otherwise, we stay in this discomfort and never change and keep making even mistakes over mistakes, asking too much from people, abusing sometimes, for coworkers or your subordinate. And only when you lose everything and now you lost your power, you say, oh my God, I was very abusive.
Yes,
So the affliction is necessary for us to start our transformation to the good.
I think to have this view, that you are bringing here is very important. What I think the big challenge in our life is create this capacity to rationalize when we are in the middle of the problem. One thing that we learn for example, when we look at sport, okay, I'm a soccer lover, so I like to watch soccer games. Some people like basketball or football. So the question is, why do we have coaches? Because the coach is the one that is outside and see how the team is playing. And those people that are playing, they are professional. Every player has the top skill because they were selected to be the best of the best. So don't they can play together, understand each other? No. They need to have someone outside to look at and say, okay, I'm moving you, put over there, and I take you out and put the other player. So this is our life. So the difference is that we need to be our own coach. So we need to observe our moves, our decision, movements, and in the same time we need to manage to make decision. If we're not able to do this, there is an outside force that we're gonna do this for us. And the outside force is painful sometimes, that need to make you. I think there are any other question, comment? because I think they advocate for us to move fast on this is love. There is not a other way that will save, we minimize our life if we really put in practice what Jesus, that's our modern guide, teaches. Any comment? And yes. Yeah, we need to use the microphone because of the camera. Yeah, it's on.
Okay. I should say, it passed when sometimes when things have happened to me, I'd go, oh, why did that happen to me, you know? And a few years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And instead of saying, oh, you know, how come I get this? I said, what can I learn from it? What's the teaching for me here? And there has been so much, and it's been so good.
Thank you so much for your testimonial, because I think what you share with us here, and it's not by chance, is something that humanity needs to learn. And to have this posture that you have, to face the situation and try to see what's the lesson, is the right question to make. That's the question. What should I learn with this situation? Instead, rebel.
This time I was smart enough.
Good for you, and thank you so much for sharing this. You know, it's a good inspiration. Just to finalize, I just remember one story that I heard, and just to illustrate this topic. That's why we brought that. You know, do the best that we can, and try to love the best that we can, especially the unconditional love, because that unconditional love will really be the one that's going to save us. Is the charity. Okay, there is this wise man from, I don't remember where, but I heard this story. I'm going to summarize. The story is about this man. He was a very good man in a place, in a village. Very good, very good. Every time people was in need, he was there to help. He never judged anyone. He did everything perfect, by the book, okay? You know, if we see Christian teaching, he follows everything. And then one day he dies. So when he died, he went straight to heaven. Everybody said, this guy is going to go to heaven. So, but heaven was rebuilding, you know, and was a mess. You know, the front desk, the people that admit was under construction. So then what happened? St. Peter was not there. There is another person over there. When the person comes to get in heaven, the person turned to him, do you have a badge? I said, no, I don't have a badge. Okay, go to hell. Send the person to hell, okay? And then he went to hell. So a couple weeks later, Lucifer asked to have a meeting with Peter and say, Peter, what's going on? What's your problem? How come you sent that guy to my place? You know, that guy went to my place, and now, you know what he's doing over there? It's a terrorism. Terrorism, some people say, he's a terrorist? No. He is listening people, he's not judging people, he's helping people. Hell became a heaven, and I'm so upset with that. You need to do something. And guess what? I'm going to go right there and bring him here to heaven. And went there and brought him to heaven. So the moral of the story is that if you are in doubt, if you end up in heaven, you have Lucifer bring you to heaven. But in order to do this, you need to do everything by the book. What is everything by the book? Everything that Jesus and the great apostle has teaching. I don't know the name of the person, but I heard this like long time ago in Matter. I found so interesting, isn't it? Because this is like an allegory. This, of course, is not true. But the moral of the story is that if we do the best that we can, we may end up in hell. But we're not going to stay there for long because Lucifer will take us out and bring us to heaven. It's just for us to laugh a little bit. Any comment, Albita? No? Okay, guys. The book is here. There is a bunch of questions that we didn't bring here. But if you come on Thursday, we'll have a nice discussion about all this question about hope and consolation. But right now, let us just like move to another moment of our meeting today. I will ask Albert to turn off the light. So we're going to do a little visualization, move to our passes here. So this is the time for